Welcome to Foodable Weekly. This week, we're going to talk about the October report and the impact on Fresh Mix. Stay tuned right here. All right, so here on Foodable Weekly, we really try to break down the industry from a month-over-month perspective. And the way that we've been doing that here recently, and it seems to be turning out really well, we're getting a lot of input from operators around the country, is breaking this down monthly, really kind of performing against last month. And we're doing that, of course, with our Foodable Labs data. Some of the things that are really unique and different about the way that we're reporting this data now is this new metric where we look at total industry visibility. We basically measure that off of two major platforms, that being Facebook and Twitter. And what that simply means is we look at the top 500 restaurant brands in the index itself and then measure the audience traffic around those 500 brands. Now, what this helps us do is kind of identify what the conversation tone is by sheer volume. And if volume on conversation is up, that gives us an indicator that potentially we could be seeing either sales shifts or traffic in restaurants moving up or down. Last month in September of 2016, our total interactions for combined industry visibility was 70,800,000. The unique users was about 40,000, so that means we've got people out there that are doing quite a few conversations around the restaurant industry and multiple times. This month we started to flatten out a little bit, but we did gain again month over month, which now we went to 71.1 million and 42.5 million individuals that were talking about the industry or conversing with the industry. Again, we're seeing some movement here all the way back through June of this year when we were at about 54 million on total interactions and visibility in the industry and about 31 million people. Another factor that really starts to layer into this is the total number of units that we measure against to be able to get this data. Last month, we had 125,302 total units that made up the database of these terms and conversations. This month, we are at 125,621. So just a slight modification on total number of units, which means slow brand growth for those top 500 restaurant brands. Now, SRV, social restaurant visit, simply means that more people said they were going into that restaurant than the month before if they were on a positive incline. So our top 10 brands, last month we had Freshie coming in at an 8.12% increase over the previous month. Mission Barbecue last month 6.59 and Arby's at 6.41%. These were increasing in sales traffic, or I say foot traffic, which we believe really relates to sales. And if you look at their performances, whether it's Wall Street or with any of the releases they've got on their websites, you'll notice that our data actually is starting to predict what we're seeing coming out in advance, and I'll show you an example of that on one of our tracks this month. Wrapping out our top 10 last month, Mendocino Farms, Sweet Green, Tender Greens, Honey Grow, Panera, Lemonade, and Zoop. Now this slide changes a lot month over month because traffic really has some flexibility across all these multiple chains. But one thing that we have started to notice, there's a few common players that seem to be holding really strong. Our number one player this month in social restaurant visit increase, growth again, October over September, is Tender Greens, comes in at an 8.82% increase. Chick-fil-A comes in at number 2 at a 5.11 increase. Arby's held their number 3 spot at 4.92. So they're continuing to see sales trends, which also aligns with what's happening in their sales results and their reported earnings. Shake Shack comes in at 4.87, another familiar person on the list. Freshie drops in, but still stays in the top 10 at 4.82. Modern Market has been on the list before at 4.8%. Honey Grow hits again, 4.67% in growth. Jersey Mike's, another top 10 performer at 4.61, and Pizza makes an entry at 4.27, and then Wow Bao actually came onto the top 10 list at 4.12. And when you look at sales trends, I think this aligns very well with what a lot of the other analysts are looking at in sales downturn for the industry, where we're seeing actual sales lift because of independents and the upscale fast casual market. They make up a large bulk of the industry versus the QSRs and casual dining chains. So when you look at that, we compare the overall industry SRVs. Now we're at 129,609,772 for the month of October, which is up almost 5 million from 124.2 million in September. So again, continued social restaurant visits rise. All this going back to what we thought was a downturn in the industry back as far as May. And obviously we've seen some stabilization, but some improvement in the fast casual and the independent section. So big factor there. I think that is an early indicator for certain brands that are doing really well. And one of the things that kind of prove our case is brands like Del Taco and Moe's. So the analysis that you're seeing now here on screen is why are Del Taco restaurants jumping so significantly. They had 12 quarters of same-store sales growth, new market penetration, new menu items, and in the overall score on Foodable Labs, this brand increased 68.48 points in 1 month. So this is a major jump in the Labs data that aligns with their earnings increase. So again, the Labs data has proven very accurate because we believe this is really kind of the pulse of where consumers are talking about the food industry. If you take that model and you move on to Moe's, showed a huge crossover percentage of Moe's and the Chipotle guest. Now, what that simply means is that Chipotle has been declining in our scores considerably, really since the E. coli scare. And what's happened is those consumers are starting to look for other places, which I think also contributes to Del Taco's increase in sales earnings over the last quarter. But a 36.4% guest crossover from Chipotle to Moe's, that is absolutely huge. And when you look at that on higher engagement with Moe's, they've continuously outperformed Chipotle in the last couple of months. All of that, of course, equates to a 50.87 point increase in Foodable Labs' overall score. Again, another high performer, and it's showing in both revenue, sales, and the impact on the industry itself. So, of course, we do multiple brand breakdowns, and if your brand is interested, of course, in getting more insights like this, the best way to reach out is just shoot us an email at hello@foodabletv.com. That'll go to the right people. They can get back with you in reference to maybe what your brand is doing or maybe a competitive array that aligns with your portion of the industry. What the industry told us is they wanted more timely information, and it's really paying off because we're seeing things now when we look at it every 30 days of this data of actually being able to get predictors in on top performers in the restaurant industry, both from a small brand and also from a big brand. So you can, of course, learn more about Foodable Labs and what we do over there. Just go into foodableLabs.com. Lots of new information and lots of new stuff happening over there. I want to thank you guys so much for watching on Foodable Weekly.